Okay. Welcome back to Road to Retirement. My name is Chris Anselmo, here with my co-hosts, Tony Shore and Tony Marlette Jr.
Good morning.
It's been a while.
Morning.
How you guys been?
Well, not as
Good.
well traveled as you, but
That was
well.
vacation. So
The
my
two
wife,
Tonys held down the fort. You were out, right?
yeah, I had 2 weeks. My wife and I went out to see our son in Denver. Then we did the whole Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons. We had a conference with Grady up in Park City, Utah. So that was, the impetus for all this. And then we, from there, we went to Zion, which is remarkable. And then from Zion, we flew out of Vegas. So it was a lot of traveling. But I'll tell you what, there's like nothing in the in the West, other than the major cities. There's like not even trees, right? It's just it's a different type of pretty. But
sure,
yeah. But it was
Park City, Utah.
Park City was nice.
Deer Park, Utah. That's really nice, isn't it?
So it's funny, when we're in Yellowstone, we wanted to go on some hiking, right? So before we go on this hiking, there's this sign that says, "Be prepared for your bear encounter." I'm like, nope. Back in the car. Make sure you have your bear spray. Nope.
I was going to say, when I was in Montana, when I was in Yellowstone, first of all, the city, you're right. The city, we were in Bozeman, and the city there's like a block or two of it that's actually looks like a downtown and like a typical bustling area. The rest of it was pretty unique. I liked it there, but you're right. I thought of the bear spray. We came across a lot of bear spray signs like that. The garbage cans have those lids on them that stick out, so the bears can't get in there.
Yeah,
but it's I loved it out there. I really did.
And it was hot, so we get to Zion. It's 100, literally 100 degrees, right?
Oh.
So we're traveling up this mountain. We're like 8,000 square feet. And afterwards, my wife goes, people took pictures, and she goes, "You got sweat all over your shirt." I'm like, "It's 100 degrees." God bless my wife. She's like the Energizer Bunny. The Energizer Bunny tells my wife, "Slow down," right? My wife can just go forever. So God bless her. But she did a great job. She put that whole trip together, and
wow,
all I had to do was drive. But it was
nice.
It was good. But it was. You needed vacation when you got back from the vacation, that type of thing. So
I think that's something we should institute here at Brookside as a vacation after you get back from vacation that doesn't count against your vacation time. And you said it. We have you on recording here saying that you needed it.
Working here is like being on vacation. Come on. So today, I know we were going to talk about mutual funds. We really haven't talked about them. Some of our clients don't even know. A lot of people don't even know what they are. But so I think maybe we'll hit some. And Tony, maybe you could take some of the good points, and I'll chime in later, maybe on the bad points.
Yeah.
So, start off, a mutual fund is really good for when you're first starting out. It's a good way to diversify, right? Most people, when they're younger and they're just getting into investing, you like to be diversified, but you don't have enough money to buy 100 different stocks, right? So
right. And this is relevant because clients do bring in statements, and a lot of times on those statements, especially if it's a former employer plan, we see a lot of mutual funds in there. Even if you have active management in other investment accounts with other advisors, you probably have mutual funds. So you're correct. It's a collection of investments within one fund that typically sticks to a stated investment objective. So for example, if you have a growth fund, you're going to have different companies in there: Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Google, Amazon, Ford, Chipotle, like all these different companies that you're going to have.
Not sure Ford.
Well,
so you're not buying full shares of stocks. You're buying into a mutual fund that then pools a lot of people's money to buy actual stocks. Is that how it works?
Absolutely. So
I'm trying to put it in layperson's terms so people understand.
You're correct. That's correct, Tony. So you're putting money into a fund, and you're getting professional management. So if I want to put in $50, yes, I'm going to be spread very thin, but it's a way to get started. And the idea is, over time, you build up enough where maybe you have a few thousand, then maybe you have 50,000, and you're spread out amongst all these different companies. So you get a growth from different sectors and different parts of the market versus buying just one stock.
Sure.
Right. So yeah. And there's only I don't even remember how many stocks are out there anymore. I mean, 10, 15,000 stocks out there, but there's probably 30,000 mutual funds. So, but normally you'll see them in 401k plans, things like that. So it's easier to just pick a fund and kind of get broad diversification instead of trying to pick individual stocks.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I think they're really good for is dollar cost averaging.
Right.
So, you can take, in order to buy a stock, your minimum is one share, no matter how much that stock costs. If it's $1,000 a share, you need to put in $1,000 at least just to buy one share. With a mutual fund, you can buy fractional shares because, as Tony mentioned, you're getting broad access. They're pulling your money together to buy those shares. So it's like if me, Chris, and Tony, and 100 of our closest friends go in and we all pull our money together, put in money to buy, pick a stock, whatever it is. So obviously it's on a much larger scale. Oh, yeah, we need more people for that. But it's on a much larger scale, and they do it multiple times, a lot larger investments and a lot more people.
Yeah.
And essentially they pull all that money, buy those funds. So it's a great way to put $50 to $100 in per week, per month, per paycheck, whatever it may be, to get that exposure.
Yeah. So for our listeners, dollar cost averaging is a strategy. Instead of trying to time the market, you're going to just systematically invest, let's say, from your paycheck every 2 weeks. And look, you're going to buy some a little high, you're going to buy some a little low, but overall you're averaging out your costs. So
sure. A lot of people, here's the deal. A lot of people, and maybe a lot of our listeners are like this. I know my wife and I were before we started working with you guys. And that is, you just think I've got a 401k or I've got an IRA, and they don't understand that what's inside it is probably, they don't know. They just think it's somehow tied to the stock market. They don't know that it is a mutual fund or multiple mutual funds inside that 401k. They don't understand what that is and how it works. A lot of folks don't. And that's where you guys come in, right?
A lot of clients come in and I say, what investment do they say? I have an IRA.
Yeah, exactly.
So an IRA, for the listeners, it's just a cup, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of like a cup, right? It's just got a bunch of different stocks in it. So, so an IRA in and of itself is not an investment. It's just a vessel that holds investments, right? So it really depends on what's in your IRA, whether you're diversified or not diversified.
It's a garage. So you can put a car, a jet ski, a boat, a truck, an SUV, a big wheel, all in a garage. And you're sheltered. You're sheltered from what's going on outside, aka taxes. And then when you pull it out, that's when you're subject to the elements.
Sure. Right. So mutual funds, it sounds like they're a really good thing because it's a great way to slowly purchase stocks, get into the market, dollar cost average your way in, rather than just dump a lump sum per se, maybe. Or it's also good because you can't afford to go buy all these full shares of all these different stocks. So it's a good way to be diversified, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I mean, you do get active management. So the difference, I guess, if somebody's out there saying, we've done an ETF episode before. Well, this sounds a lot like an ETF. With a mutual fund, you're actually getting active management towards a goal. You're not just buying an index. An index is, nothing more than a statistical measurement of how the market's performing at a time. You're not getting any active management with an ETF, whereas with a mutual fund, there's a money manager involved. There's somebody on the back end making sure that the stocks and the investments within the fund are doing their job. It doesn't mean they're going to guard against losses. It just means that they're sticking with their objective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's there's so broad, and there's so many objectives. Like you could have a growth fund, you could have a value fund, you could have, I just want international stocks. And then the ETFs can get a little more specialized. Like I only want shares of stocks and railroads, right? I mean, so ETFs are generally could be much narrower than mutual funds, because mutual funds, I believe, have to have it. This might be not be 100%. I think they have to at least have 100 different stocks or 200 different stocks, because I think they can't have more than like 5% in any one stock or something like that. So, that's how you get this broad diversification. So we like them. It's really good for beginning investors to get into the market. Like my kids, I'm like, look, take something out of your paycheck every week and just put it away. So they're most likely going to buy mutual funds, and then as your portfolio grows, and you get enough money, I don't know, maybe $150,000, $200,000. We kind of shy away from mutual funds, and we could talk about why.
Why would you shy away from mutual funds at that point?
Okay, so a couple of reasons. One, people end up having, let's say you have 10 different mutual funds.
Sure.
Right? So when you dig behind the name of the mutual, and the other thing, and the name is sometimes misleading. You don't know, the Blue Moon Mutual Fund. You're not really buying Blue Moon, right?
Right.
So with an orange, right? So, but so what happens if you have a lot of mutual funds and you look behind? And we have software and back office CFPs that can do this for us. Like. They all bought
doubling up.
Yeah. We call it, stock intersection. We call it. So, I mean, they all have Google. They all have Amazon. They all got IBM. They all got Apple and Microsoft. And so when you look at it and we could run a report, you got 10 mutual funds. You bought Microsoft 10 times. So you paid those mutual fund companies whatever their little charge is to buy you Apple or Google. Mm-hmm. So once you have enough money, we're like, well, why don't we just go buy Google?
Yeah, and
we don't need anybody to buy Google.
Right, and sometimes then you're not as diversified as you think. You go, well, I'm in mutual funds. That's really diversified. Yeah. But if you're in 8 different mutual funds, you're not necessarily that diversified. Yeah. You're diversified within each mutual fund, right, but not overall if you have multiple.
We call it our overlap report or stock intersection report, and people they don't really
like a compass report. Is that
no? I think it's called their stock intersection report.
Oh, so I don't know what
it shows that you have 7 different mutual funds, but this is what they're actually buying. So it'll show you that you bought Google. 6 out of those 7 funds bought Google. 6 out of those 7 funds bought IBM. So our strategy is we can buy them for no cost, right? We don't charge people to buy and sell individual stocks. We just charge an annual fee. So there's no couple things. There's no incentive for us to buy the pink one versus the blue one because we don't get paid either way, right? So there's no head trash in our way to buy Google versus Amazon or something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing we find is the other nice thing about mutual funds. So I don't know if I can see this again. So this is your mutual fund. You got all these stocks in there, but the bad part is, let's say I want to get rid of this stock because it's Facebook and I don't want to have Facebook in my account anymore for whatever reason. I can't pull this out of the mutual fund. I either have to sell the whole mutual fund or keep the whole mutual fund. Now, why do I got to sell off my Google and my Amazon and my IBM to get rid of Facebook? So once you get to a point where you have enough money, if we build a portfolio of maybe 50 to 100 different stocks for you, if we want to take out the yellow one at any one time, we could take out the yellow one and put another one in. We don't have to sell the whole portfolio to get rid of the ones we don't like. So it's a little more nimble to be able to kind of build your own mutual fund. And
and I mean, part of that too, you have with the mutual fund, to your point, you're getting active management like we mentioned before, but it's not necessarily customized. So they're following a blueprint. But it may not, you're buying this growth fund over the years. Like you mentioned, if a $5,000 or a $1,000 portfolio has turned into $100,000, you're still in that growth fund. The money manager, whoever it is that you're using, whether it's, any different mutual fund manager, they're not contacting you directly and you're not contacting them. They're managing the fund per the overall objectives of the fund. Right. So it might be time for you, even though you're diversified within that growth fund, it may be time for you to say, okay, whether you're getting closer to reaching your goal, or you just want to be diversified so you're not as subject to market fluctuation, it's time for you to invest in something different. So it's not up to the money manager or the mutual fund in this case to do that. You're on your own. It's up to you to do that.
Yeah. So the other thing is, like when you deal with us, when we deal with Gradient, who's our money managers, we can talk to the money managers directly and say, hey, what's in this account? What's in that account? What's in this? If you wanted to talk to the actual money manager, Fidelity Growth Fund, let me put this politely, is you don't have enough commas in your account to talk to them, right? So, I mean, unless you have $1 billion in your account, you're not talking to Fidelity's actual money manager, right? Or 100 million or something like that. So, it's a little more personal. We like it because we have somebody constantly watching their portfolios. I have to say, shout out to Gradient. We use Gradient for a lot of our money management, almost all our money management. And during this period from January to now, it's been the worst 6 months, 7 months since 1970. Mm-hmm. I think I've gotten 3, maybe 4 phone calls from our clients about they're worried about the market. Because their portfolios are tailored to them. We explain the risk. We explain how we position them, and I think they're comfortable. That Ingredient's done a good job to pick and choose what stocks and when to get in, when to get out. Because clients,
minimize losses in a year like 2022. Right. Yeah, I think if you look at Gradient's stocks, they came out with a report that Gradient Investments was only down not even half of what the market. Yeah. The S&P was down,
and that's when you really
good. Yeah,
I don't say you don't need us all the time, but this is when you really need us, right? Like when the roller coaster's going up, everyone's happy, right? Nobody needs it. It's just when it goes over the hill that people start screaming, right? So so you really need us more when when the market's going down than when it's going up. But we sometimes you just have to hold your hand and hold on. There's going to be another hill coming up the roller coaster, so we don't want people to panic when.
And that's really what you pay for with active management, is to do better than the market. Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean like you're gonna
crush it, right?
Crush the market by 10 times. It just means just that over the long term. Did you do better than what the indexes do?
I mean, the other nice thing about the mutual fund, again, if you have a collection of several hundred stocks in one mutual fund, if Google has a bad day, it doesn't necessarily kill your portfolio because you have several other 100 stocks or NVIDIA. Should we talk about Pelosi on this radio show? But
NVIDIA.
Maybe not. You might be watching. Well, Pelosi's husband took a position in NVIDIA before they, they're going to give them tens of billions of dollars to fix the chip issue, but it's a whole other insider trading issue that we should talk about. So, I mean, maybe
at this point,
that could be a whole other show about
Martha
Stewart.
Trading.
Yeah,
we can talk about Martha Stewart.
It's funny because my poor mom, years and years ago, she her and my dad, just bank people. They would never been invested in. And one time my mom says, well, I want to buy some Martha Stewart stock. I'm like, well, Martha Stewart was pretty hot, 30 years ago, right? And I said, I really don't like buying stock that's dependent on one person.
Yeah.
So, we bought her some shares, and then Martha Stewart went to jail. Her shares dropped, and my mom's like, So she's kind of been out of the market since. So.
That's just a lesson right there. Don't invest emotionally.
Right, exactly.
For sure.
Like some people are like, I'm a huge Apple product fan. I love Macs. I love Apple products. So I'm gonna put all my money in Apple stock.
I won't go down.
Even a great company like that, you don't want to put all your money in one.
For some reason, I won't go down the rabbit hole. I own nothing Apple. Oh, I'm afraid I'll be hooked in forever, And
like me, we have everything Apple in.
Yeah, but a lot of people love it. So,
and I love it. We have everything Apple. Everything we do is interconnected. Our watches, our phones, our TV.
I don't want to be that connected. Like I have a watch that can connect me, and I'm like, no. I just, And it's funny because kind of our office, we're at Google. We use Google stuff, but
Sure.
for email and all that kind of stuff.
Good.
But it's funny because talking about Apple versus Google, we somebody bought us one of those Google Home things, right?
Yep.
So, and then we had that in the kitchen, and then we had somebody bought us an Alexa one, right? So that was in the living room or whatever. So to start Alexa, you just say Alexa, right? And to start the Google one, you have to say okay Google, right? You can't just say Google, you have to say okay Google, right? And I probably just turned.
I was going to say, I think
I just turned the one on in here.
You just turned on everybody's phone in the office.
So
and listeners, all the listeners, if you yell
so
Alexa.
this is funny, and it might even work here. My wife one time said, "Okay, Alexa," and the Google one said, "I don't answer to that command." Let me see if I can get "Okay, Alexa." So it was pretty funny. So yeah, so people either Google or Apple phones, but like you said, you don't have too much in any one stock. But then once you get once you get a little bit of money behind you, you could kind of build your own mutual fund, and that's what we use Gradient a lot for. We might the Gradient, the G50, the Gradient fund is 50 U.S. based stocks that they feel that have growth or value potential. And then we have an I-40, I think it too. That's international stocks, and then we have different portfolios, whether it's growth or value. We're actually
buffered index.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess I could say it. We're going to come out with a crypto one.
Yeah,
for all you crypto guys.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so that was
still high risk though.
I was going to say,
So maybe if you have a little extra money, you want to throw 5% of your portfolio in it, so it's going to be volatile. But crypto's probably here to stay. I'm not sure if people. I don't know.
I was just at the Gradient seminar. Well, it's been almost a year now. I was there last November, right before Thanksgiving. And they pretty much made a point to come out and say they have no plans to get in. Obviously,
I was just there last week.
Has changed.
Yeah.
But no, right. And I mean, realistically, it should be a part of portfolios. I mean, if nothing else, I think you were starting to say it, you treat it as an investment, even if you don't believe in its ability as a currency. And again, you want to stay away from going any more than 5 to 10%. 10% is a lot. It's very volatile.
And I think they're in a really safe where it's more of an investment.
Yeah, you're not actually buying the coins, right?
You're not actually buying coins.
You're buying the companies that are running that.
So
maybe we get Bing around here one time, and he could talk a little bit about it. I was there last week, and it was interesting. But it's still highly speculative, and so. I mean,
that's why financial services professionals like yourself don't sell or recommend your clients buy directly in Bitcoin because of the volatility. You can't say that that's in their best interest, but it is the future probably of banking, and I think more and more people are seeing that, and that's the way the monetary system is headed. So investing in certain companies may be a good idea, but a small percentage.
Yeah, it's the companies behind it's not actually, you're not buying the coins, you're buying the
Wouldn't you agree, Tony?
I would. So yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like buying
it's like buying the internet 30 years ago.
It's kind of like buying a precious metals ETF where you're buying gold, silver, bullion. Like you're not actually investing in those things. You have exposure to them through, say, an ETF.
Yeah, the precious metals is interesting because you could either do what Tony said, buy those type of ETFs, or you can actually buy the physical commodity.
It's the same concept with Bitcoin. Is you can actually go out and buy, a Bitcoin for whatever it is now, $12,000 or whatever, $20,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can go out and buy one, or you can participate in the ETF that invests in it. So you participate in what it does.
I think Gradient's I think it might be released in January. So we'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
But again, mutual funds, Tony mentioned that they're really good for diversification, a good way to start off, good way to dollar cost, good way to get you into the investment mode.
Yeah.
And then once I think once you have $100,000-$200,000, we could look at it. Hey, maybe we could just tweak it and build your own mutual funds. So if you want to be a little more specialized, we could use ETFs for some specialization, but you don't need to buy Google 7 times, right? You don't need to buy Apple 7 times. It's because, I don't care what they're telling you. Everyone's charging you something.
Right.
These mutual funds aren't doing this for free, right?
No, and I mean, I know we're winding down here, but if we talk about mutual funds, we have to talk about the costs. So you're paying a percentage per year called an expense ratio that the fund is automatically taking out of your investment every year. You're also paying a transaction cost up front on most mutual funds for that active management. So you may be paying a larger percentage up front and a smaller percentage ongoing, but you are paying for that privilege for active management.
And there's different share classes, A, B, C,
sure.
That kind of stuff we could talk about if you come in. But
sure.
So those are normally based on how the commission's being paid to the agent. We don't take commissions, so we wouldn't buy A shares or B shares, right? So we would buy institutional shares so that you're not paying those fees. So, okay, we're 26 minutes into this. So, all right. So, Tony, you want to say anything, Mr. Shore, before we leave? Or are you going to give us that radio voice so you can take us out?
Well, yeah. I mean, I want people to contact you at Brookside Tax and Financial. Why don't you give that phone number and web address for our listeners?
That.
There we go.
So Marlette's on top of it there.
For those of you who are not watching, you can contact us at brooksidetax.com. You can schedule an appointment online if you like, or you can give us a call. 440-886-3550. That's 440-886-3550. In the spirit of adults remembering numbers, 3550 is 3550. So we remember those last 4 like that. I was told that by an old sales manager.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's why the law office ends in 1040.
There you that's perfect. All right. Well, listeners, that does it for today's episode of The Road to Retirement with our hosts, Chris Anselmo and Tony Marlette Jr.
Thanks all.
See you.